Action Comics number 15, written by Grant Morrison, art by Rags Morales and Brad Walker. Buckle up, kiddos, because we've got a Grant Morrison explanation issue. So last issue was this whole thing where he finally Superman managed to attack Vindictivix on Mars. So that happened. Now this issue, we pick up prom night. Clark Kent is going with Lana Lang, and she's like, Ma Kent's like, oh, I'm so happy for you. It's great. As soon as your pa's done helping out that salesman guy with his car, you'll be on the road. And we see that the salesman is actually Vindictivix. I'm going to call him Vinny. It's going to be easier for me. So anyway, Superman's like, yeah, I think about that night a lot. And the landlord who he's talking to, and this is the framing device for the entire rest of the book, is this conversation with the landlord. She's like, yeah, before Vinny, I don't think it was supposed to end as tragically as it did. And he's like, okay, so let me just recap. You're a princess in the fifth dimension, and someone named Mixipitlik is needing to be saved from Vinny. And I'm going to say Mixie instead of Mixipitlik. So she's like, yeah, okay, here's the thing. I had to show you that I was part of the fifth dimension, which I think happened 2 issues ago, in order for you to believe me. So, yeah, I've done that. And she's like, Superman's like, okay, I'm having these memories of being to Mars, but I've never actually been to Mars. And she's like, that's happening like 2 years from now. Apparently, when Vinny goes in for the kill through time, he displaces events around it. So his prey like remembers things that haven't happened yet. So yeah, anyway. Then we cut to, I guess, the future, where it is the final days of Superman. The sky is red, it's a red sun, and we see the Kryptonite gang and Nimrod are tracking him down through the ruins of Metropolis. And he's on the run, and that little girl, I think Lucy, she's like, oh, I smell his thoughts, he's here. And so the Kryptonite gang, Nimrod, Lucy, and the Metalex are all going after him. And Nimrod's like, hey, I put a whole bunch of like Tesseract bombs everywhere, which will cause all these new environments to spring up if he activates them. So don't worry, he's not going anywhere. And he ends up springing a bomb that causes like a giant plant life to form. So he drops down in the sewer and he runs into Drekken the Evolver from before. Anyway, back to the framing device. Landlady is like, oh yeah, here, Superman, share a drink with me while I tell you the story of what's up. He's like, I don't really drink. And he's like, you're Superman. Alcohol literally will do nothing to you. So he says, all right, here's the story. In the fifth dimension, there was a king. I'm not even going to try his name. But the king lost his queen, and he was heartbroken. And it was like spreading darkness across the land because he was so sad. And he had a royal advisor guy named Vinny, and Vinny was trying to cheer him up with all of these like numbers and letters that could fly around and such, and none of it was working. And then one day Mixie showed up, and he's like, hi, I'm Mixie, and I can make anyone smile. And he took off his little purple bowler hat, and he pulled out an entire universe, and that made the king finally smile. He was like, oh, that's incredible. So Vinny didn't like that. Anyway, at this point, she starts listing off a whole bunch of names of people who were trying to get Mixie to say his name backwards and were unable to. And apparently saying fifth dimensional names is like thunder, as we see Superman's ears are literally bleeding. So she continues on the story. Mixie fell in love with the landlady. Again, she has a name. And in order to prove his love, he gave her a necklace made of 3 wishes. So that made Vinny enraged that Mixie's moving in on all fronts here. So then she explains, like, Vinny and the whole reason that Superman's involved, because he asks, how does this have anything to do with me, is because in his future, Mixie uses Superman as one of the tricks to cheer up the king, and he's a favorite because Superman actually manages to like get one up on Mixie a lot of the time. So anyway, Vinny's super pissed off, and he goes into like the royal armory, and he pulls out a thing called the Nothing Coat, the Imaginator, and the Million Pointed Spear. Yes, So at that point, we cut back to the future one. Superman is fighting Draken and the Kryptonite gang. He is clearly not on the upper hand, but he manages to get away long enough to make it to his new base because his Arctic Fortress of Solitude was taken over. So now he's at a base in the Yucatan in an Incan temple. And he goes inside and he's like, all right, Legion of Superheroes, I need you back here with me now. I need Comet and the Cometeers, and also Crypto, good boy, and he whistles for Crypto. So anyway, back to the story. Vinny he goes into the king's quarters where he knows that Mixie is. He sees through the curtains a shadow of the bowler hat, and so he takes the million-pointed spear and he stabs at it. But it turns out that the king was just trying on the bowler hat, so he actually ended up killing the king. When he stabbed the king with the multi-pointed spear, that was the multitude that was killing all these different planets on the list, and only 2 planets managed to repel it. Superman, when he was on Mars, 2 years from now, and Jor-El for Krypton. Okay? You keeping up? I barely am. So at that point, Mixie's like, oh my gosh, what did you killed him? And the punishment for regicide is eternal imprisonment. So we see that Vinny's arm has been like shriveled up and his nothing coat has been broken, and he's going to try to frame Mixie for killing the king. So Superman puts together the multitude thing, and it's just like, yeah, okay, so somehow this guy has been taking revenge on me throughout my entire life all at once. Like, he's able to attack anywhere in Superman's timeline. And that when we cut back to prom, we see Lana's enjoying herself. They're about to share a kiss when the police walk in, and Clark realizes Ma and Pa were in a car accident and they didn't make it. So then back to the story. The princess, Mixie was telling the princess to run, and she ran and threw off 2 dimensions while she was at it. And she was reborn as a baby 60 years ago. And it, like in our world. And she used one of her wishes to bring Mixie to Earth, which is how she like married her husband, the mystic Mr. Triple X that we brought up God knows how long ago. And then her second wish was to undo the death of Clark Kent. And Superman's like, cool, use your third wish to get rid of Vinny. And she's like, unfortunately, I died before I used my third wish. Because remember, she sees time differently. And at that moment, Nimrod shoots her in the head. And Superman's like, oh, geez, oh, God, Mrs. Nixley. So then we get 3 panels all throughout time of present day, prom night, and the future, where everyone's like, there you are, and they're all attacking Superman. Oh my God. Okay. I get it. I understand. We have a being who can like see Superman's entire timeline and attack it all at once. And he's been doing so just because he doesn't like that Superman made the king happy in the 5th dimension. I get it. I understand. Does not make it any less complicated. I like it though. I do think that it did a good job pointing out like, okay, here's the story. Here's how I'm able to... I followed this so much easier than I thought I would be able to. I'm sorry if I didn't explain it well, but like art-wise, writing-wise, I got it. So overall, I got to give this one like... I got to give it at least I'll say 8. No, I'm going 8.5 actually. I think that it is a really solid, just like, okay, we're not only breaking down like this entire series up to this point, but we're also talking about just things that are coming after this as well. The entire timeline is up for play. And I don't know, I like it. I think it's a solid issue. So I'll give it an 8.5. I think it was very creative and I really did enjoy it.